will never happen in the future. So this is why if you call a website Physico-Chemical Sociology, you're going to be building on Henry Adams up here. We're going to be building on Henry Adams' Physico-Chemical Social Dynamics. And so Petram's coined the term right here, so let's click on it and see what it, how he coined this term. So here's where the term gets coined. So Petram Sorokin, he wrote this in his book. He said that Declaration of the Independence of Social and the Social Sciences from the Natural Sciences. He says I declare that they are independent. He said social sciences are independent from the natural sciences. So he wants to separate them because he has some belief about some kind of Christian spirituality or energy, kind of like spiritual energy theory. So he wrote this article that science would be needed for physical-chemical sociology would be merely another way of designating the physical-chemical sciences. And he says, no basis exists for duplication of the same science under two different names. Hence, it's utterly futile of any sociological or social science under these conditions. He said that thus the claims and questions, if realizable, would lead not to the creation of a natural science sociology, but a discussion of. So he dismisses this. He says it's utterly futile or a waste of time to try to make a science of physical-chemical sociology. So you've proved him wrong. Your whole book proves that he is wrong. So if you call your website physico-chemical-sociology.com,
it's going to have pun as well.
Yeah, it's going to be
have pun as well.
Yeah, pun plus entertainment. And there's a whole. And when you get back,
our idea is not to separate sociology from other sciences.
Dr. Baig,
We say
what he's saying is, this guy actually wrote that this cannot happen, and you made it happen. So he's saying, and I like the idea, that it's going to be a big pun on this statement. Actually, it's going to be, reverse move.
if you proved him wrong,
You coined this, and we used it.
Yeah.
So that's I like the idea. I like it.
it needs to be integrated.
Yeah, that's
Don't
what
separate them.
you've done. You've already integrated it here. I have the proof. It's integrated.
All right, so
Let's move on.
Okay,
let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah. Which page are we at? So that I can actually,
Let's see. We're on.
go geek over it afterwards.
We were at the
on
catalyst.
106.
Catalyst.
Yeah, we did catalyst. We're moving
No,
forward.
this one. What does it call? What do you call this?
You want to look at two cultures.
Two cultures, right?
Two cultures namesakes.
Okay.
Two cultures namesakes.
All right.
So,
Two cultures.
all right. So we did catalyst. Okay. So there's catalyst. We've done. You talked about it here. Goethe talked about it. Now we're going to go up to page 106.
105.
You're going to look at 107. So here you say, look here, Mirza. The speeches made by Hindu extremists generated high heat in their society. Their emotions were set so high as to interact with violent force with the Muslims, and this led to widespread riots, killings, and arson, and looting. So the Hindu extremists, they polarized the people and generated heat, and that sparked the combustion in society that resulted in the separation.
Yeah.
Okay. importance of concentration. The importance of concentration of components involved in violent interactions may also be demonstrated by the riots which occurred either in Hindu or Muslim-rich areas in India. So how does this explain this in terms of historically, in terms of concentration and the riots that occurred in the Hindu or Muslim-rich areas? Which one had a high concentration, and how did that involve how did concentration increase result in the violent interactions?
Importance of concentration of violence.
We always say, so when the Muslim concentration gets above 10%, then they were faced with frequent riots. That's correct?
Yes, yes.
So now we're
In the lower majority, that is what is still happening. Segregation is always there.
What about the Chatelier principle?
They had segregated themselves for fear of violence. Violence against the Muslims. So they had to separate out. They had different localities for themselves. But then the interaction will not be promoted. They would like to be
Turn up. The audio is going to go in here. It's going to make people are watching this around the world right now. So if you have the audio on, it's going to be we're recording right now.
तुम्हें किसने दिया ये? किसने दे दिया ये? तो फिर बंद करो.
Turn the volume down. No volume.
बंद करो उसे. अजीब बात नहीं हो यार. बंद कर दो. रखो मत हाथ लगाना.
Okay. So we're almost done with this chapter. Maybe we're going to get coming up in mind-body split. That's important for you. Let's see. You want to talk about the Chatelier principle? The Chatelier?
Yeah, Chatelier.
What do you want to say about that?
Oh, this is to my heart.
What?
In case of interaction, let me read that. The interaction and equilibrium mentioned above are governed by the principle of Chatelier, whereby changes in the variables like pressure, temperature, and concentration may cause a shift in position of equilibrium in a direction that tends to counteract the changes in the variable concentration. Okay, that's the phase rule always. This principle indicates that if heat is involved in a reaction, increasing the temperature will lead to its reversal. A decrease in pressure will shift the equilibrium position towards the right. And similarly, the position will be changed by a change in concentration.
So you see this?
Quite usual to find an application of this principle in the case of society.
Okay.
You apply pressure and something else happens. You heat up, you create commotion, and then the equilibrium changes. So whatever is happening, whatever is demonstrated by this Chatelier principle, is also possible to see the truth in the case of socialization. In socialization, we think that if there is a pressure applied, something else will happen.
Okay, one question I have. Of the three things, temperature, pressure, or concentration, which one do you think is the most, we see the most in society? Which one is the most significant factor?
Presently, it is the concentration.
Oh, okay.
Presently, it is the concentration because the more the speeches have generated, have motivated the Hindu RSS, the Rashtriya Sevak group that has grown in majority now, and they are ruling. So this increasing concentration of the RSS people and the activists in one of these societies, that is shifting the equilibrium, and the Muslims are getting into minority.
Okay.
The whole problem is, I see
Scientists,
elsewhere also.
would you please explain what La Chatelier's principle is
Yeah.
in shortest possible layman term?
Yeah, I can make. You want to plug this one? I'll make
Yes,
diagram. Look at there, Mirza, there's our diagram right there.
Oh, wow. This is one of very effective. It's not free, right? This one?
Free, yeah.
Yeah.
It came with a software sketchbook.
Yep.
I don't know.
So one of the things that I'm planning is we are going to actually introduce in his book for the younger ones to understand. There's one thing which we actually use in HR. We actually use a STAR technique.
Mm-hmm.
So we put a situation, then we introduce a task, then the activities, actions, and the result. So probably all these principles and all these things we are going to actually whatever, like this La Chatelier's principle. How am I going to know as a even a layman? I'm unable to understand. All right, fine. But I asked a couple of people who were related to chemistry, and they were having difficulty in telling me, or their concepts were not that good. So I want that to change.
Yeah, there's if you do the Chatelier principle, VOH.info, there's maybe 10 historical examples of people that tried it. Other than Mirza Big, they tried it. And the first Nobel Prize winner in economics was Paul Samuelson, and he studied under the student of Willard Gibbs. And he studied under Edwin Bidwell Wilson, who was one of Willard Gibbs' students, and he taught Paul Samuelson the Chatelier principle, and he applied it to economics and won the first Nobel Prize in economics.
Very nice.
And there's a couple other people, you can see some other examples.
So I might win one as in HR.
Yeah. So Chatelier.
So is this the name of the person?
Yeah. Chatelier is a French chemist, and he derived this in about 1888. And but anyways, it works like this. If you have a reaction beaker like this, and let's say you have some chemicals in here, and then you have A, B,
You have mixed A and B.
yeah, A and B is going to transform into C, new product. Could be anything, but the reaction could go both ways. So now, normally you mix them together, they're going to go a certain direction. They could go if you mix this together, depending on the Gibbs free energy, the reaction is going to go to a certain form so many species of C, and then it'll reach equilibrium where the forward reaction is going to equal the back reaction. But if you add a temperature, start heating the system, you add some temperature here, say you add a flame, so you increase the temperature, this could shift, shift the reaction back this way to make more products. Or depending on the chemicals, it could shift the reaction this way to make more products. Or you could change the pressure on the outside and put more, you could make a
Lid, or
you could put a lid on the top and add pressure. Now pressure could do the same thing depending on the chemicals involved. It could make C revert back to A and B, or it could make C revert back this way.
Yes.
And then the other one is concentration.
so the ratio and proportion of A and B can change.
So say, so the third one is concentration. So say you start increasing the concentration of A or something like this. You start adding in more A into the beaker. That's increasing the concentration, and that's going to shift. Say this A was limiting species or something like that. If you add more A in, it starts going to shift the equilibrium this way. So the Chatelier says, he words it very precisely. It's hard to. That's why when you ask people, you have to look up what the quote he says it, because it's something about the whatever. If you either add the concentration will shift the reaction in the opposite direction it likes to go, but this is basically what it means. And so this is one of your. This is Mirza said this is true to his heart. The Chatelier is his favorite chemist, right?
Yeah.
I think it's Anton Lavoisier. I don't know.
Here, I would like you to go back to the reaction between silica and lime. Yesterday we were talking about calcium silicate formation.
Can you switch back
under
first?
pressure. Calcium oxide and silica may react only to a limited extent and under ordinary conditions. But if you put in lime, put in a small bit of water and intergrind it, that means applying pressure, the reaction will take place and calcium silicate will be formed.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That is one way of shifting the equilibrium under Chatelier's principle. Supposing you increase the temperature to about 1200 or over, then that reaction will again be shifted and calcium silicate will be formed. So calcium silicate can be formed under pressure as well as temperature. Now if you increase the concentration of lime versus silica, then also it is possible that you will form calcium silicate. Now it will not be monocalcium silicate, but also tricalcium silicate. So conditions will change under concentration. So the three variables are giving you different conditions under the Chatelier's principle.
Yeah.
This is how I interpret.
So give us, since we're on the subject, give us one sociological example that comes to your mind. Social example.
In social cases, whatever is happening in Kashmir these days is a good enough example. They applied motivation pressure. They have not been able to succeed. Now they are applying police pressure, military force. to get the, they may succeed or they may not succeed, but what they will be able to do is annihilate the population. So again, I have said somewhere else that terror, hatred may produce terror, and but terrorism may follow terrorism, but terrorism per se cannot be annihilated.
So let's see.
So
Let's.
terrorism is likely to persist. You cannot eliminate terrorism.
Yeah.
It will remain in one part or the other, in one shape or the other.
Yeah.
But
Terrorism
it will
is
not be-
conserved. Let's take a look at this final quote from this chapter. Looking for stress situations constitutes the guiding principles of major events from ancient times to date. They can be interpreted along lines similar to reactions 5.8 or 5.9 following the Chatelier's principle. So that is,
Affinity, pressure, heat, temperature, pressure.
so they can be interpreted according to 5.8 or 5.9, where AB has a free energy reaction to form AB plus stress, or nitrogen and hydrogen react to form NH3 at heat. And you say that they follow the Chatelier's principle: affinity, pressure, heat, number and quantities of reactants, environmental conditions, solubility or sociability of individual, and the free energy or driving force of the reaction comprise some of the main factors which bring about the interaction among the components of society. That's a good statement right there.
Look, in the case of nitrogen, there is a triple bond. In the case of carbide, there is a triple bond. In the case of nitrides, there is a triple bond. The triple bonds are making the interbond, the bond energy between nitrogen and nitrogen, carbon and carbon, nitrogen and nitrogen. They are very strong. So, in order to break the bond, you need pressure. Nitrogen can only react with hydrogen under pressure.
Yeah.
It does not react. So, applying the principle of Chatelier meaning that if you apply pressure, something else will happen.
Yeah.
Nitrogen and hydrogen will react under the
Yeah.
condition of change of parameters.
Yep. So that's
Okay.
just like your example you said, that people in meetings, they will only react together under pressure. Hydrogen will only react together with nitrogen under pressure. Same way if you have a business meeting where people come together, you just put them at a table and tell them to sit here, they're not going to react. But if you put pressure on them, tell them, I want you to get this done in 3 hours, they're going to get reaction. So force on them.
Well, let us consider a well-developed society. A well-developed society always forms out of an undeveloped or a developing society. Now, having developed that, having attained that status of being a developed society, they would like themselves to be protected. In order to break that protective wall, something else will have to take place. Either you invade their concentration with a number of people, or by bombarding, that means a spontaneous reaction, or you create a condition where there is an explosion inside there, or you introduce some such rebellious forces in the society that they annihilate themselves internally. So in the three cases, the temperature is being applied, the concentration is being applied. When there is a swarm of army invasion, then that gives you a parallel to concentration, use of concentration. Heat, you bombard it,
Okay.
or you create an internal pressure within them, within the society. Then they will be annihilated.
Okay. I will listen to what you said when I get home. We will watch it on the video. But let's keep moving. We're going to go through this chapter quickly and do this polarizing force in mind-body split and munafakat. So right here you say
It's munafiqat. Munafiqat.
munafakat. Okay. So chapter 6 we're on to polarizing forces, mind-body split, or munafakat. So here you say intermolecular forces which hold the molecules in their position determine the physics and chemistry of matter. According to the present approach, which is physico-chemical sociology, there are several interacting constraints on individuals, similar to intermolecular forces on molecules which determine their behavior. And we're going to talk about polarizing forces. So let's go through with this diagram here. I want you to explain munafakat with this diagram. What's this word?
Munafiq.
Huh?
Munafiq.
Hypocrite.
The hypocrite could be described as one with a mind-body split. He is unable to practice what he preaches. His deeds and words are contradictory to one another. Alternatively, he may be described as one having a polar instead of a non-polar character. So can you explain that in terms of this diagram? And the charges, positive and negative charges?
He can this can
Or use the stick.
Here is this society with poles, negative and positive. Negative.
These are individual people.
This is neutral.
The society.
This is the neutral society.
The what?
Neutral. N-U-N-E-U.
Neutral society.
Neutral.
Neutral society.
Neutral society. Okay.
This is the neutral society. Now you
And what is this right here? This. What is this?
these are poles.
What does it mean? What is a social pole?
They are being separated.
So this is one belief system here.
I have another one.
Huh?
The other picture. Could you have another? Follow next.
Picture before here.
No. Not here.
After.
No, afterwards.
There is a pressure of a battery.
Battery. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we are. One is shifting towards the north. If you apply an electric potential, then these they are going to separate. So that will be the splitting of point. In the case of, if there is a polarizing field, if the polarization is induced here, H2 and O2, H2 and will separate out from H2O. And H2 will go towards here and oxygen will go here.
Okay.
Okay. This is under the polarization conditions. Now let's go back to the
This one.
here